Hey everybody, this video is going to talk to you guys quickly about sharpening and stoning. Becoming more prevalent these days are automated sharpeners. I'm sure some of you guys in the audience have these, so hopefully this provides you some education on how to sharpen as well as how to stone. So you're going to put some of these blades on your sharpener and then you start sharpening, and what's going to happen is you're going to be either picking your traditional cuts or your flat bottom V cuts, and you're going to be cutting in to your steel and making these hollows and forming these edges. Now, it might seem all plain and simple and put the steel on the machine and let it go and let it rip. However, there's a little bit more to that. So when you're hollowing, again, you're making this cut here and you're expecting that you're just going to have a great edge here and here. However, sharpening is a bit of an art and you have to be really careful. On a microscopic level, what might be happening in this corner is you're creating the hollow out this way. You have the blade sidewall like this, and you might get a little bit of a burr just kind of sticking out like this. And this is very microscopic and exaggerated, but you might have a burr like this. So what you want to do is stone the side of this to break that burr off. Because if you don't do that, you're not really going to have an edge here. It's not going to be pointy. It's going to be kind of flattened out with that burr. So you want to side stone that off. Now, there's a number of techniques that you can do. So you can take your stone, put it flush on the steel, just like this, perfectly flush, and just wipe from side to side. Now, if you have a coated steel, like our black steel or our color, or even our DLC, you might not want to rub it flush and rub it aggressively, as you're going to rip these coatings off. So what you could actually do is you could rub the stone, instead of putting it flush, you can put the stone on a bit of an angle and just make point contact and just kind of break that burr off like that. That's one method to do it. The other method is you could use a leather chamois like this and just kind of make sure that you have the steel and you wipe it like this. And you kind of break that off. Some people like using wood, some like using a leather chamois, some like using a stone. There's different ways to do it. The other important aspect that I would say is, again, sharpening is a bit of an art. And if you let your steel go for 10 passes, for example, on a sharpener, you might start to get a bit of a bigger burr. If you did, let's say, 2 passes on the wheel back and forth, and then you stoned or used a piece of wood strap or piece of leather, you're going to have a much smaller burr to break off. And then you can do another 2 passes, another form of honing, and then another pass or 2, and then another form of honing, and kind of going from aggressive to gentle, not only in your sharpening passes, but also in your honing techniques. So there's a number of ways to do it. There's no right or wrong way exactly, but the better way to do it would be, imagine like you're trying to take a piece of normal steel and almost put a mirror polish into the steel. You can't, for example, just use 80 grit sandpaper and then grab 500 grit sandpaper and sand it with the 80, then sand it with the 500 and expect to find a mirror polish. Instead, what you're going to need to do is use the 80, then use a 120, then a 240, then a 300, then a 500 grit, then put a little bit of lubricant and use a very fine grit or a wool. And that's how you're going to polish something. So similarly with your edge, and forming that edge using that similar analogy of polishing or sanding, making that edge a little bit slower with less passes and making sure that burr doesn't get too big, and using your side honing techniques, you should be able to get a great edge. So there's some food for thought, and hopefully that helps you guys out. Cheers.